To finish my sentence, yes. So whether it's a metaphor, an allegory, figure of speech, analogy, whatever the case may be, this return of Christ is, I believe, imminent. Which means, I mean, people have been said soon, soon, soon for thousands of years. But there's certain signs, certain things had to be fulfilled, okay, that the prophets wrote about. And one of those prophets was the prophet Daniel. A short book in the Bible, Old Testament, 12 chapters. But the 12th chapter talks about a time when knowledge is greatly increased upon the earth. This is the last chapter in Daniel, remind you. When this is when it's summed up, okay? At that time it was prophesied thousands of years ago that there would be this time that the evil men just couldn't help themselves from being more and more evil, more and more possessed and debaucherous, okay? Because we've had periods of grace through history. If you look through history, there's been periods of peace on earth, relatively speaking, and where there looked like there was hope. Looked like there was hope in America when JFK was president. Right? He understood sound economic policies. He understood a sound dollar. But you see, the problem with sound economic policies for the evil men that want to take advantage of other men, lesser in their minds, is you cannot have sound economic policies and rip people off. You can't enslave them gradually over time with this thing we call the national debt, with currency debasement, with having the Federal Labor Department in your pocket. Why do I mention that? Because, friends, when I stumbled upon this truth, I was like, oh my God, this is so glaringly true and obvious. I mean, to prevent the debasement of our currency in America would have been the simplest thing in the world. How would that have happened? I'm going to spell it out very clearly, what I stumbled upon. And it's like, oh my God, it's true. The Federal Labor Department. First, consider the fact that there was a rhyme and a reason why, by law, by mandate of law, a federal minimum wage was established. Federal. That's when we were a union, right? They call America the union. We're a union. One people, one union. The American people. So while all the states could be separate and have own little nuances in their rules and regulations, mandates and laws, and all that crap, have their sense of independence. Nevertheless, when the chips were down, we all came together and unified. You understand? So if you look at the history of the inception of the minimum wage, and then you consider, well, why did we do this? Okay, it was to prevent unscrupulous employers, masters, bosses, whatever you want to call them. Okay, those that like to use the labors of other people for profit. For profit. I mean, they're not doing it because they're benevolent people just wanting to give someone a job, right? We know how it is. We know the score. They're employers because they will benefit. They will profit. It is to some avail to them to utilize the labors of other people. So let's establish that every job, we talk about picking and choosing what jobs are essential jobs in the economy. I just saw a piece. They got this build your own house organization, CHIP they call it here, locally, community housing. And then it finally came out, because I didn't heard this the first time I ever heard it. Yeah, they favor the farm workers. So all these farm workers, they might be on welfare and temporarily they're set up with a host or whatever they call them, a sponsor, right, that could take care of them. They'll put them up because they probably are well-to-do and own several properties. So temporarily they could put them up while they build one of these houses. So while you say, well, they're out in the fields making what? Are they even making minimum wage? They got to work by piecemeal and all this. They got no protections. They're illegal. But they're getting houses. They're entering middle class, probably able to send money back down to their relatives and their heroes down their homeland. And then they can have a house built down in south of the border, let's put it that way. They have that option. I mean, so a lot of these people are far better off than a lot of the native-born American people. A lot of them are white-skinned. I'm just saying, listen, I'm not against anybody. I say tear down that wall at the border, but let's do it in an orderly fashion at least. Let's take care of our own native born American sons and daughters, citizens first. I mean, isn't that just reasonable and logical? And it's like, am I a mean guy to say that? So you see the stupidity of it all. But this minimum wage, you understand, at one time, I can remember in the early 1960s when everybody had dignity. Anybody that had a job, middle class, could you have a middle class life? I mean, minimum wage, federal minimum wage, anywhere in the country, wherever you wanted to live, you could do it comfortably on a minimum wage job, federal minimum wage. Federal, it's very important to point out federal because that's the one that unifies us as a nation, prevents balkanization. So it should be illegal, it should be unconstitutional for states or cities to set their own minimum wage. No, we should object loudly and say, no, 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 no. No $15 an hour in San Francisco. No, you can't do that. You can't supersede federal law. I mean, everybody knows that. At the end of the day, it's about federal law. That's what unifies us. That's what makes us a union. That's what makes us a cohesive nation. But now we've gone the other extreme. We're totally balkanized. Cities have to set their own minimum wage. Why is it? Because, well, they're trying to represent some semblance of fairness. Say, oh, well, we give prevailing wage and all this crap. But you understand, if the Labor Department, the federal Labor Department, and it'd be 100% wholly justified to come out every year, they had an annual press meeting, and they said the cost of living went down. Here's why. This is what explains why the cost of living went down. It went down because of supply and demand principles. Because we found an easier method to produce X, housing, something that we all needed. Y, cars. Okay, Z, food production, industrialized, state of the art. You understand? So we were able to produce, to supply far more than we could ever demand or use. So as a result, your money increased in worth, right? We can all agree. Yeah, well, yes, that's a given. Yeah. If your cost for something went down, right, that means the worth of your money went up. So the Federal Labor Department come out and said, hey, we're giving a pay decrease. Since everything else got cheaper for these workers, we're also going to bring down their wages, commensurate with that. It's because they're already getting richer anyhow, gradually. It's a rising tide because of industrialization, automation, robotics, that we could produce all this stuff. So our lives are supposed to get easier. We're supposed to get more prosperous, more free, financially free, more secure, financially secure. So this is just an offshoot. It's a branch. It happens automatically, organically, by sound economic principles. Do you see why that's in conflict of what evil men want for we the people? It's contrary. It's the diametric opposite. It's antithetical to what their will is. Their will is to take advantage of the workers, to profit more, to be richer and richer. They're insatiable. They can never get enough. So if we the people can't enforce laws, and we can't make the legislators be on the side of we the people, these politicians, they keep on stabbing us in the back, we the people, and they debase our money, and then they insulate themselves by giving themselves a raise. Do you understand how this thing works? Why it does this? And they have a lot of family members. While they themselves, they can't vote on a certain issue if they were invested in such and such an industry, yet they know they've got a lot of relatives that are in the lending industry, or friends, their peers, right, that they look up to, or in the real estate industry. You understand the motivation for why they vote the way they do. And we're talking Democrats and Republicans. They've all stabbed us in the back. People that call themselves conservatives, people that call themselves liberals, people that call themselves socialists, people that call themselves capitalists. They've all done this to our nation, made it hopeless for people. How do you think that feels? If you're not one of those hopeless, how do you think that feels? To know there's just no way, short of a miracle, pulling a rabbit out of the hat, There's no way I'm ever going to achieve a middle class life and home ownership. That ship has sailed. Hopelessness. This is what led to bloody rebellions in history. If you look it up, you take away people's hope. I mean, it's over, man. Game over. I mean, if we descend, if we go the way of Central and South America, Mexico, this is what did it, my friends. Currency debasement, this national debt. How they won't touch it on mainstream media. They won't talk about the pernicious effects of this national debt and who's really paying it, how they're paying it. Because they say, well, I'm still accumulating wealth. I'm getting richer. And put blinders on. They don't care. They divorce themselves. They separate themselves from their fellow human being. They don't care to have a pure heart and live by the golden rule. You understand? That's who's running the world. And that's who's manipulating your heart and mind to believe like them and do what they do. When in Rome, you got to do what we do. Jump on the bandwagon. Get with the program, man. Come on, you take the path of least resistance. You don't want to be a loser, a failure. You want to be a success. You got to be like us. You got to, sing the party line of what the grand puppeteers want. And this is it, man. So I don't know what to tell you. You either comply, conform, capitulate to this system, because, there's a rhyme and a reason for it. There's got to be, because we're at this point in history, and we're at the cutting edge of history, and we're getting smarter, aren't we, as a species? All this accumulated knowledge and wealth, but they're delusional. Do you understand? If their hearts aren't right with their owner, these are like demons. They're on the highway to hell. They're all careening to destruction, completely unbeknownst to them, because they haven't cared enough. You understand? They haven't cared. They have wrong values. That's where it starts. Their hearts are impure. Their values are not in line with their owners, the Creator God Almighty, our divine parents. They act like they own themselves. They act like they could ever own anything when they might be dead today. You can't even own your own freaking body, but you got all that money. You got all those possessions. God, you see what I mean about being deluded and being oblivious, willfully oblivious to their own delusion. So they're willfully evil, basically. When they choose a path they know is debaucherous and wrong, but they stay on it and they say they're defiant and they're prideful and they say, no, man, my way is right. I ain't relenting. I ain't confessing. I ain't admitting I'm wrong ever. No way. This is it, man. Get with it, man. Get with it. Don't give me that do-goody-good BS. I wasn't born yesterday. I didn't fall off a turnip truck. I know the score. I'm very worldly wise. That's their attitude. That's their spirit, isn't it? I got it going on. You see, a lot of the stuff they won't verbalize, but it's in there. It's in their subconscious. So it's in a subliminal place in their heart and mind, their spirit and their soul. Because they could read the Bible and they could go to church and they could pray, but they just don't know how different they are and how different their values are from their owner. It's written that we should use worldly wealth to win friends for ourselves. You're supposed to give it away, treat it like a hot potato, man. It's like getting caught with your pants down, getting caught flat-footed. To be stuck with Judgment Day, with all that money, the return of Christ is here. You got no more time to off it, give it away. I feel sorry. That's the time, it's written where your riches have rotted. That's it. That's what's going to happen. All those that think they got it going on because they got all that bread, man, they haven't given it to Jesus Christ, the downtrodden, to end homelessness once and for all. Take away the incentive for all these people. No, leave them out there. We need them. You understand? That's incentive. That's fire under the butts. That's motivation to my tenants. You better pay that higher and higher rent, or that's you moseying down under the bridge with your tail between your leg and your soiled clothes. You're riffraff. What do you think? God, that's Jesus Christ, and that's your heart and mind. Even if it's happening subliminally, they're not even aware themselves this is going on. That's how far gone we are as a species, and we're all connected through osmosis. So I'm getting my share of this crap. I don't get to skate. Nobody does. The righteous are suffering wildly. It's written that God does not delight in the destruction of the wicked, but it's here. It's upon us. Okay, he wishes none to perish, but all to come to repentance. And that's the same spirit the righteous, the believers need to embrace. So it's all about love and forgiveness, blessing your enemy. Even if they don't believe it. They project the opposite because they don't believe anybody could be that altruistic, that benevolent. They're unforgiving too. How could you forgive for that and this and the? You talk like this, but I know what's really in your heart. You're phony. You're the one that's delusional, buddy. I know. I know what people think because I'm a people. We're inextricably interconnected. It's the way God made it. It's a failsafe. We got this little thing called conscience, and it's connected to our soul. And if you turn your back on it and you just say, no, I can be dishonest and rationalize. I mean, surely God understands why I was scared.